Have you ever wondered how we can find signs of God in life's darkest moments? Or marveled at a family's ability not just to survive, but to thrive after facing unimaginable tragedy? These questions are at the forefront of our minds when we meet such a family. So settle in and prepare for an emotional, inspiring, and life-altering experience. We're about to dive into the pages of the Levitt family's extraordinary story, a tale that proves the resilience of the human spirit and the unwavering strength of faith. Introducing Jenny and Caleb, who will be your guides on this remarkable journey. They'll share a story that challenges conventions and inspires all who hear it.
Hey everyone, so we're back again. I'm Jenny. This is my son Caleb, the one who survived the drunk driving accident August 30th of 2015 that took the life of our youngest son Jacob. And we were talking before about some of the big things that you had to work through. Do you want to share some about some of the ways that you worked through that, maybe some of the ways that God helped you?
Yeah, so I think our first Christmas after the accident, I remember I was in the wheelchair still, and we had just had kind of a bigger fight about the Christmas decorations, and I think a lot of things got exposed, I guess that's the right word, from all of us, in that I wanted it to be a Christmas like nothing had happened. Because I was still focusing on the physical recovery. It wasn't that I didn't accept it, but I had not dealt with any of the emotions, any of the anger, any of the grief, honestly. So whenever that whole thing came around, I wanted to be as if Christmas was the same, so we would get everything out and put it up, and...
Remember that. And I was like,
yeah,
no, not having it.
Well, and because you brought up something that I hadn't thought of, which was for at least 2 years before that, I was so busy up at the church and doing other things and helping people that I wasn't there for Decoration Christmas. So it was just you and Jacob. So for you to do that again, that was going to be too hard, whereas I just wanted it to be the same. I wanted the lights up. I wanted the tree up. I wanted the gifts out. I wanted everything the same because I wasn't ready to move on. Wasn't ready to say that something like that happened to our family. So that whole thing blew up, and I wheeled myself off my room. I was in a huff, because in case you didn't know, I slightly have anger problems.
Just
So, but they were really on like level 10 after the accident.
It wasn't. I mean, yes. But tensions were flaring. I mean...
Yeah, it wasn't just me.
No,
so
I've
it was
told,
all of us.
I've told people that, and it's not just marriage. I use the analogy in marriage, but really it's in any relationship. If you had tension or cracks or anything like that in your relationships, and then something traumatic like this happens, those cracks can become chasms if you don't deal with that. So those problems you had in communicating, or the anger issues, or the way you didn't relate well, or like me, I still have a hard time with it, like speaking up for myself, I guess, advocating for myself. Like if you're that kind of person, it's so easy to revert back to what's familiar. So if you're familiar with just kind of going and isolating, it's just so easy to get into those bad habits. And I think that's where we found our family that holiday. The first are always hard anyway, but then on top of that, I'm a female, and you and your dad are males, and males and females handle grief, handle life differently.
Well, and at that time, I hadn't even realized it yet, but I had hated Dad for years.
Yeah.
And so you can't deal with it if you don't even know the issue. So, and we can, kind of go back to that later, but that was definitely a major part of my healing process and development, was first realizing the bitterness and the hatred that not just towards Dad, but towards God, and then towards others, but then, receiving healing.
Let me bring everybody up to speed. So the accident happened August 30th. You fast forwarded to Christmas, but in between then, you went through, I don't even know how many surgeries did we?
I was in a coma for like
9 days.
9 days.
And I don't remember how many, I don't know if you've ever actually stopped to count how many surgeries you had.
I mean, because so my liver was lacerated. They had to cut me open, so I still had the scar.
It's pretty
gnarly one. Yeah, it goes
pretty much
here all the way down. So
that was the
first
emergency
one.
surgery the night of the accident, and that was just I know you probably heard this, but for other people's benefit. So the night of the accident, when there was so much confusion and they finally figured out that it was you at the hospital and they took us back to the little room, they weren't really supposed to let us go see you, but they basically told us they didn't know if you were going to survive. So they offered to let us go see you, and when we went back there and you were on the gurney before they wheeled you in for emergency surgery, you literally had blood coming out everywhere. And we found out later that was because of your trauma to your head.
Yeah.
So you had a traumatic brain injury, blew out both your eardrums, shattered all the facial bones.
Every bone.
Yeah, I remember you couldn't use a straw for like, I don't know, 6 months, 3 months? It was a long time.
Yeah, because it was in Brooks still, so at least 3 months.
7 vertebrae, which sliced your vein. So you were in a C-collar.
The collars for 3 months.
3 months. We didn't even know until it had been like a couple weeks that you broke your left arm. Wait.
The right arm.
Right arm, because you were so swollen that we didn't even know until finally the swelling started to go down and they saw the bruising. That was the only way we knew that you broke your arm.
Well, I broke 3 ribs.
3 ribs.
But they didn't catch that, because of everything else, and so those just healed naturally. So.
And then your tailbone in 3 spots, so you have 3 screws in your tailbone. You shattered your
femur.
Your left femur.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I'm still.
There's a rod, but yeah.
Yeah,
so
there's
a bunch of stuff going on.
So lots and lots of surgeries, and then because it was your left leg but your right arm, you weren't weight bearing any way you look at it, and you had a C-collar on. So you literally were laying in a bed for 3 months, and then you were in the trauma unit, trauma ICU unit, trauma ICU step-down unit, and then they moved you to a rehab facility in the Jacksonville area, inpatient rehab, where I don't even remember all the therapies you had to go to either. It wasn't just physical therapy. It was like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, cognitive therapy.
Yeah.
That was where you threw that. Remember when you
yes, I remember.
Made your comment to...
Plus, she was very attractive. That's the reason why. I was trying to put some game.
Oh, no, that wasn't the one. That wasn't the story I was thinking about. I was thinking about the story where she was the cognitive behavior, or the cognitive therapist was trying to get you familiar with the whole word association, try to help you remember things because of your traumatic brain injury.
Yeah,
And so she's trying to help you, and I don't even remember, I was there, I was blessed and was able to be there with you every day. So I was there, and I don't remember what she even said, but your word association was, I will just say, the name of a famous terrorist. And it was to associate the name of the doctor there.
Yes, it was Ahmed.
Stop!
Ahmed the terrorist. And so you may not know, but that is one of the, I forget his name, but it is a comedian, and he has a puppet. That's his name. So she said Ahmed. Immediately I thought, Ahmed the terrorist.
We may have to.
So apparently
we may have to this out. We'll see. But it was so funny because her face was like, and then she just started busting out laughing and was like, okay, but how about we not call the doctor a terrorist, okay?
Yeah, she may have said that it was a little bit racist. Nothing to do with race.
And look, how many years later, almost 8 years later, and you still remember that doctor's name. So obviously it did work.
I do.
So rehab, inpatient rehab, and that's a story all in itself, but your dad had to go back to work after a couple weeks because life still, bills still had to be paid, like life still has to go on. I was blessed and able to stay home until January because people that I worked with donated leave time. So you did the inpatient rehab, you had to learn how to navigate using sliding boards and using your left arm but only your right leg, and came home in a wheelchair right before Thanksgiving, I think.
I think it was a little bit before that because I remember I was able to go to our play for Halloween, and then I think we released the next week. I think like first week of November that was released that year. So yeah, that was a major shift,
Which I think is another great spot to end this video for now. And then we're going to pick up in just a little bit with what that shift was like for you and how challenging that was to actually come home and have to deal with the change in life.
Sounds good.
See you all in a little while.
Thank you for joining us today on this incredible journey with Jenny and Caleb. To discover how Caleb overcame his challenges with God's help, stay tuned for our next episode. Don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss it. Thank you for listening.